This one's gonna be fun.
This one's going to be fun. So welcome to the Psychic and the Skeptic. This one is meant to be more humorous. Mina and I are pretty seasoned daters, I guess you could say. And this is totally from our own experience.
Yes.
This could be considered spiritual, but I think spirituality and psychology, they kind of go hand in hand. So I think this is worth it. At the very least, for anybody who's single right now and really tired of this scene, you're going to get a really good laugh.
Yeah.
So we have the top 10 or 30 red flags that you're dating the wrong person.
Go.
And please, feel free to add your own stories at the bottom of this, because it's absolutely amazing.
Zero judgment here. Seriously.
And to any of our exes, I don't think we're friends with any of our exes on Facebook, but if they ever see this,
I am with 2 of them. But like, it's totally okay if I talk about it, so it's okay.
Yeah. Or it's been like a decade and you're like, you know, it is what it is.
They already know.
Number 1.
Oh, in no particular order. Doesn't mean it's number 1 like most order. Okay, go.
But this is a good one. Number 1, you're amazing, but
it would be really nice.
You would be my perfect Mr. or Mrs. Right if you were X, Y, and Z.
Yes. Whatever that is.
Oh, mine was, you know, I only date thin women.
I can't flip off on this thing,
thin women were like size 0. And I found out later she was a cancer patient.
And I actually had the opposite. No disrespect to cancer patients, because
no, it was just one of those things where he found that level of thin and losing weight was really,
oh my gosh,
it was.
I've had the opposite, actually. They asked me to gain weight. They said I'm too skinny. At the time I was a lot thinner, obviously, than I am now, but still I was within a healthy range, and you know, this is me.
Right.
But yeah.
And just to give you guys perspective, I did CrossFit when this guy said it.
Yeah. Sam can like
CrossFit.
Bench my boyfriends.
Well, your boyfriend sucked anyway. But whatever. We'll just keep going with this one.
Okay, number two.
He or she, excuse me, they guilt you into a second date. Somehow
I'm trying to think of one that did that.
I've had several where they're like kind of whiny, and I kind of feel bad, and like, maybe it's just me. I'll go out with them again, and then before you know it, you're married.
Oh, that was oof. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That's a lot of paperwork. I just think paperwork.
I can't say I was married to this person, but I do remember there was one guy who was like, God, I feel so bad for this guy. Oh, I'll go out with him again. Why? Why are you doing that? No, because there's an insecurity thread that will never leave.
Yes.
On his part.
Yes.
Or her.
Number 3.
Number 3. They expect you to fill their heart. They have this void and they just need you to fill it.
Right, because they're not filling it themselves, or they haven't taken care of themselves, or, you know, self-care. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They expect you to, there's an insecurity where they feel that you need to fill their heart. And that insecurity, again, like number 1 or 2, will never go away.
I've got a 3B. Because of their mom, you know, like very much a mommy's person. And they expect you to fill the void of, you know, well, I'm not living with mom anymore. Or, you know, my mom used to do this for me. It was always really nice when mom did that. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Not mom.
Or they had some sort of parental issue, so they're constantly searching for a mommy.
Yeah.
Or daddy.
Yeah.
Somebody that's going to take care of them.
Number four.
They are intense. They are so intense. Like something.
Is this the love bombing one?
This is the love bombing one where they just come out of nowhere and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never had this before. And they just get you all spinny. And
or they text all day. I love you, like within less than 2 weeks, there was already an I love you. You know, I don't know how many times that has happened to me. Yeah. So often. Oh my goodness.
I want to be around you all the time, and you feel you're the most amazing person or woman and the man in the world, and whatever. And then before you know it, you're
and
like,
then you live with them, and they're a whole different person.
You live with them, and then they turn into the most abusive. Ugh. Or you find, so basically with love bombing, how it works is that they bomb you with all of these like ways of making you feel, and then they take it away as a sense of control.
Yeah. No, and
you, as somebody who's been filled with all of that, it's easy. You become addicted. You can't help it.
So I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I have, and this is diagnosed, psychopath, not knowingly, obviously, sociopath, narcissist. What are the other ones? You know, a lot of my exes.
Borderline. No, that was me. What else is there?
And we're not downing the condition. It's just they're in this condition, and we've suffered through it, and we have to laugh, you know, because now we're healed from it. They never saw a therapist properly. They never did it. So we need to laugh about it. And this is like our way of healing through it. Like, ooh, red flags. Totally should have seen that one coming, you know, Mina.
And hopefully it at least saves some people from going through the same.
Absolutely. If you're in a moment where, you know, you're in a relationship and any of these things, any of these red flags come up, it's, you know, go talk to somebody, go talk to a professional, because, you know, just make sure so that you don't end up.
Previous conversation we had of staying grounded and seeing a therapist. And totally. if you see them acting kind of out of sorts and your gut is telling you no, it's okay to say, have you seen a therapist, or are you seeing a therapist? And if they get upset by that,
they should not get upset about that. That there is growth there. If you've never seen one, you know, it's wonderful. You would think we're licensed therapists pushing it so much, but we're not.
I will push therapy forever, and I don't even care. I'll tell everybody, hey, you can be the most well-adjusted person in the world. Have you gone to a therapist? Because it's like an oil change for your brain.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5. Are we on 5? Okay. I don't know what number we're on.
They say they will die without you.
Oh my gosh. I've actually, and I've said this on another one of the shows, I actually had a moment where they tried to kill us because I said no, and I broke up with them. So that is rough. That is really, really rough. I mean, like, at the same time, obviously, you know, we're not diminishing it. Go get help if that's where they're, but
I think that's just a full disclaimer for all of this. If anything is full disclaimer. At this point, see a therapist. But at the same time, if you just need to laugh about a previous trauma, that's what this is about.
Yes. Like, no, because, you know, if they're at that moment and they're saying these things to you, you do not want to be that person they have to hold on to survive, because.
And you don't want to be that sole supporter, because before you know it, you're going down that alley with them.
Did your really bad ex, and I'm not going to say names, did your really bad ex do that? Did they do that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like, I will die without you. And, you know, throwing themselves across the bed. And I was just like, and I remember, because I'm pretty psychologically sound. I was like, this is so ridiculous. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Where to go with this.
I had one once, and they, it was a foresight of it, right? Because they were also really psychic. And they actually threw a tantrum and started hitting the walls and hitting themselves, like, you know, is it gorillas that do it? You know, like they're hitting themselves, and they're just hitting themselves repeatedly. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, wow. And then, like, after they calm down, they're like, I'm sorry, I just really don't want to lose you. And I'm like, okay.
Well, and you feel like if they lose you, they're going to do something drastic, and, you know, you love the person, so it's just a big mess. It's just a big old mess.
Oh, so we're trying to prevent it from walking into these steps. Okay, go.
Yeah.
What are
we hope you never get to these points. Okay.
To our point.
PowerPoint. This is a fun one. They forgot they said goodbye the first time.
Oh, you've had that happen, but I don't think I've had that happen.
So it's like I had somebody who was very hot-headed, and it didn't last long because it was like every other conversation I would put up a boundary, and he would just be like, well, that's it. Goodbye forever. And I was like, okay. And then the next day I'd be like, hi, how are you? And I was like, what? I'm good. How are you? But it was like, it gets to the point where every time he'd say goodbye, I'd just be like, all right, bye. And then like 2 days later, how are you doing? I miss you. Goodbye forever.
I can't make a comic. Go next one.
Making fun of you.
Oh, so jacked. So fucking jacked.
I mean, Jesus. If somebody makes fun of you and you feel it, and then it hurts, and then they say, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so not cool. So not, because I had that happen regularly in my last relationship. Like they would constantly belittle me constantly. And they're like, I was just kidding. I'm like, how are you not kidding? That is not kidding, dude. That's what you do to make a joke. I was like, that's not sharing love. That's not, and it's like, the steps of how you're supposed to treat someone is not what I should have been with.
That's not love. Not love. It's not love when you tell somebody, you really think you look that good?
Yeah.
I had that one.
Yeah. Or you're not that smart. I'm just kidding. You're totally smart. Like, what? Especially when knowing that you, because you open up in a relationship and knowing that this is the problems that I have is when someone tells me this. So like for me, it was actually intelligence levels because I have my own issues from family and stuff like that. So we all have something and we know our triggers and we're like, you know what? I dealt with this and I'm getting through this and stuff like that. And then they know your trigger and they continue to use your trigger. It's like, dude, really?
Well, and it's almost like a means of control by not letting you feel too good about yourself so you won't leave.
Right. Is that a narcissist trait? I don't remember. I don't remember the list.
I don't know. There's so many.
I'd have to, I've got we don't know the list. Okay, go.
When you feel gross if they touch you.
Okay. I got this one. So, I met the guy on the phone, blah, blah, blah. Things are amazing. We met each other for 2 weeks. So, and he's already like, I love you, blah. Anyways, so I go to see him for the first time.
Yeah.
that was the first red flag. I go to see him for the first time. And, we had a lot of really long conversations on the phone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. And everyone's telling me he's amazing. Anyways, I go up and I'm like supposed to hug him. And I go to hug him and all I want to do is run. I want to get in my car and I want to drive as fast as I can. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? He hasn't done anything. Why would I feel like
why am I being such a snob? I can't believe how.
Gut. Listen to your intuition. Listen to your gut. I wish so badly I would have gotten in my car and driven away. Looking back on it now.
Or it's like, the thing is you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, so you will do anything to not have that confrontation.
Right. You're trying to be respectful. You're trying to be kind.
But I can say it through time, Mina and I have gotten really good at breaking up with people. Like, I just think you're an amazing person, but I'm just not feeling it.
I have a oh gosh, this is really kind of messed up, but I have like a thing that I do, and I say, okay, here we go. I say, so after clearly this isn't going to work out and stuff, but I would love to tell you what would help you to transform to make you better for the next person, and I mean it totally sincerely. I mean it with all my heart, totally open, and I'm like, look, this is going to help your next one. Like, kiss her more or whatever, like I'm just saying a random thing, but and it will totally help them transform. But That's my kind of like my breakup thing. That's when you know I'm done, as I just gave you tips on how to deal with the next woman or
on how
man.
to date. I'm totally done with you because I'm giving you tips on how to date other women.
Yes.
Ooh, I'm gonna do that. They disappear for weeks at a time.
Okay. I think you had that happen to you, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't really into the guy, so it wasn't a big deal. But I just remember being like, I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks. Right now, all of a sudden, you're coming out of nowhere. Like, hey, what's going on?
Just so you guys know, I've dated even a Navy SEAL, and they can still check in.
Right? If they are into you, they will check in. If they are invested in something real, they will check in.
They'll find a way. Whatever country,
right?
whatever place, whatever weird thing, they'll find a way.
That's I am really glad though that I wasn't really invested in it anyway, because I was like, well, that was fun. But he just would come up and it would be like, you are amazing. You are this, that, and the other thing. And I would be like, I haven't heard from you in like 2 weeks, dude. I was like, cool, thanks. After 3 to 6 months, they still have far too many secrets.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I mean in the sense that you haven't met any friends. You haven't seen where they live.
Oh my gosh, my psychopath ex. I mean, well, I saw where they live. I knew all that stuff, but there wasn't any really friends.
Yeah.
Think about that. Where was the
I never really
friends?
told you, like, maybe you don't even know their age.
Oh, I got one. Okay. So, and I'll have to back up twice on that one. But okay, I got one. So I was going out on a first date, but we had totally like chatted a lot. You know, our friends put us together and everything. Mm-hmm. They even sent me a picture, blah, blah, blah. We're talking. They told me their age. And then I went and I saw them and I was like, dude is not that old, man. I mean, you are like at least 10 years older. And I was like, so how old are you? Was, I think, 15 years older. Yeah.
Oh.
Lying about age. Lies. Yeah. Or here we go. This is like going to dive into the next one. I'm sorry, I can't wait on this one. Or they forget to mention they're married. Like, well, you didn't ask.
You didn't ask, yeah. That's a good one.
I'm so sorry. I totally forgot to ask. Are you married?
Right? Or they tell you they have 3 wives. That happened to me. That's a whole other story. So, 3 wives.
If you have to separate from the truth and I don't know, white lies, or if you have to dive for asking these questions, there's red flags, man. Those are red flags. But at the same time, you should probably ask, because before you start to get into your heart and start loving them, you know, ask.
Yeah.
And find ways to ask, right? Like, does somebody else think you're married? Mm-hmm. Does somebody else think that you're their significant other?
Or does yeah, exactly. Like, does that roommate of yours say that you think that, you know, that roommate that you have sex with, does she think you're in a relationship?
Do you have a stalker that believes this? Also very important. Is anybody going to be randomly calling me and saying that they're your wife? And I didn't even know.
Oh my God.
I've had it happen a few times.
The best one was, well, that's our culture. And I'm like, when was the last time you saw your wife? 10 years ago? 10 years ago? And I was like, what are you going to do here? He's like, well, I know a guy who had like 30 wives. I'm like, what the hell are you going to do with 30 wives? And he's like, shut up. And he was like, I don't know, have a zoo. And I was like,
wow.
Actually, I was like,
that's not even a red flag. That's a whole different other color.
I was like, first of all, as a feminist,
not cool.
I was like, have a zoo. Ooh. How about you go zoo yourself out of here?
All right, next.
Yeah. When they ask you for money.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have an embarrassing one on this. I had someone ask me for money, and they guilted me, and so then I was like, what am I doing here? And I actually sent them some money. I will completely admit it. I am one of those people. I was in a, it was during the death year of 6 deaths, and they somehow had a weak moment, and so I sent them the money, and then I blocked them. So then I
Oof. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. That's the first thing people will tell you, especially with online dating, is if they love bomb you, and then they ask you for money because they're stuck somewhere in some weird camp.
yeah.
Or they're, going to be detained or something. You just say bye.
No.
That's called catfishing.
No. Oh yeah, we'll
but
talk
anyway,
about that in a different thing because I don't really know the
terminology.
Yeah, that's it.
Or the time. So alcohol and drugs are how you guys spend time together.
Right. Only partying.
Right. I had one where it was like, and he was much older than me. This guy drank like crazy. I mean, I wasn't much better, but I was like, if I had been sober, I wouldn't have been spending time with him like I was, because he made me feel bad, which is another thing. It's another red flag. But alcohol and drugs, if you guys are finding that
if that's the only time you're connecting.
The only time you're connecting, first of all, get some help and break up with the dude or woman or they or we, whatever you go by.
I one of my last ex, he would actually when we first started, because he says he drinks, and so I wanted to see how he does. I can't. I don't drink. And mostly my sensitivity, that's the reason. I used to have a couple shots of tequila with my grandmother, and that's about it. Okay. Anyways, long story. So my ex and I let him drink one night, or let is not the right word, but anyway, so he was drinking, and he ended up blacking out, and he started to get aggressive. And at first I was like, oh, okay, well, he was fine, no problem. Okay, check this one out. Here's some psychic for you. So he actually we went back to my place, and my mom's altar, he went over to my mom's altar, and then he was like, oh my gosh, I think she just started hitting me because all of a sudden my leg hurts really bad. And then she started doing this. I was like, she probably did, she doesn't want me to be with alcoholic.
Safety Sandy to the rescue.
Yep. And then the next time, afterwards, we had a long discussion. I was like, so obviously, I don't think you know your limits and stuff like that. I would really appreciate if I'm not saying you need to seek help. That's your decision. But if we're going to date, I'd appreciate there to be a 2-drink limit,
Right.
That's all.
That's fair. I mean, and on the other spectrum, it's like, if you're trying to control, it's like,
right.
People are going to do what they're going to do. And my thoughts are usually like, if you're going to have a drink or two, that's fine. But if you're going to get violent and scary.
Yeah. Not cool.
Or, it's like, even as a partner, if you see like the next day the person seems really depressed, it is in your authority to say, hey, I kind of noticed this.
Yeah. But it's okay.
Yeah. They have a known mental disorder, and they think therapists and psychologists are a bunch of hooey.
Or, yeah. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. If they've been diagnosed with something and they're not getting
help one way or another.
Right.
Just know that you can't be their Band-Aid. You can't be what holds them, because Sam and I both have been there.
Yeah. And it's like, I know plenty of people with depression and anxiety who are just wonderful human beings, and I would totally be amazed to be in a relationship with somebody like that. But they also know themselves.
Yeah.
And they work on themselves, and it's just a better way of life in general. If you have something you're working on, go work on it. Don't fall into the alcohol and drugs, because it's not going to help.
Or whatever crutch it is. It doesn't matter what the crutch is. It could be food. It could be, adrenaline rushes. It could be whatever it is, but just, it's okay. Helps good. Okay, next.
Yeah. They still haven't forgiven someone that they dated years after.
Yeah. Like, you go out, especially like on the first date, you know, you're out there on the first date, and if they're talking about their exes and without you having asked them questions about it, if that's what you choose to do, then, you know, they might have not let it go. Oh, okay. So I have this thing. So I believe that, when you go out on a first date, all the signs are there. You just have to look for them. So now you have to, okay, oh, but I'm so in love. You know, after you're done with that first date, go home.
He's so hot.
Go home, meditate, ground yourself, right? And look, okay, so what happened throughout this date? And look at it from an analytical point of view. Say, so this happened, we talked about this. And if you have to write it down, write it down. But then look at it as a third person or whatever, so that you can really see what are the red flags? What are the things that I need to be careful of? So once you know what to be careful of, you can, know whether dive in or don't dive in.
And once you see, you can't unsee. So you're not willing to go there.
Yeah.
You know, you're not willing to go to that existential, we're in love.
So again, we go back to
yeah.
We go back to my ex, and this one probably goes into the next number, is they told me all these sad stories of how they were mistreated every time. They were always cheated on by their exes. Always. Now, when that happens, there's something else that's going on. Like the fact that something's, and you can, if you want to try to call it karma, if you want to try to, I'm sorry, there's something that happens within that person also that they're not fixing to help break that cycle. And so what was it that caused them to all cheat on you? What was it to cause them to all treat you as such so that you believe that you're the victim?
Yeah. Well, and I also want to, this is going to probably piss off some people. If you are cheating on your spouse, it means there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And you need to have the cojones, male, female, they, we, to talk about it.
Yep. If you're not happy.
If you're not happy, talk about it. If you are afraid of having the conversation, you better freaking talk about it, because it's not going to get any better. That fear of having that conversation is going to make that conversation, it's going to make it an inevitable outcome.
Yep.
And go to a therapist. Get it done.
Because you're just hurting them, and you're also putting, as a, again, back to a healthcare practitioner, you're putting your health and their health at risk. And if you have kids, your kids' health at risk.
You're putting your health at risk, your partner's health at risk.
Not cool. Not just their mental state or their emotional state, but their physical body's health. So.
Yeah, because you hold on to that stuff, and it festers. And
STDs. So.
Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Next.
They talk about their ex on the first date. I think we already did that one.
Yeah, we did that. Totally.
They always were the savior. We have that one too.
Yeah. They're, yes. Go next.
This was another one. And I want to put out, like, there are some disclaimers, but they're not in their kids' lives whatsoever.
Oh.
And my other disclaimer is, like, if you're somebody who really didn't want to have kids, and either you gave up your child, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about you knowingly were in a relationship, you had a kid, and you wanted it. You wanted a baby mama, or you wanted to be a baby daddy, and you just disappeared.
Or you think that you're awesome, and yet you don't make the effort to actually take the steps forward, like truly effort.
Right. Because sometimes there are things that happen, but at the same time, it's like, this was my first, I had a first date that did this. He was like, he proceeded to drink. The more he drank, the more depressing he got. The more he told me all of his stories. And one of the things he said was, I have a 3-year-old and I haven't seen him in 2.5 years because I gave him up. He's like, I'm trying to get back into his life, but I'm trying to get my life back together, but I'm trying to. And I was like, it's great that you're trying, but this is
trying
a lot of, exactly. What is that? That's a lot of trauma to throw at one person. And I just said, if you're doing all these things, then why are you out on a date with me? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't think dating is really what you should be doing right now, if you don't mind me saying so. It was the most awkward date I've ever been on.
Well, and there we go back to one of my exes is, they hadn't seen their kid. They would see their kid once in a while, like once every couple months. And I'm like, but there was no reason why you didn't, right? I mean, like, now you're trying to fight for it because now you can't. Mm-hmm. Now, but like, why didn't you? Right. But I was a great dad. I did this and that. And I always made sure I paid my child support. I'm like, okay, but did you actually take part in their life? As a person who, daddy obviously wasn't there, like, love you, dad, but he wasn't around. So, and anyways, be there for your kids.
Right? Or it's like, if you're going through custody and whatever, I understand there's a lot of gray in this sort of scenario.
Of course, absolutely.
But at the same time, there's a lack of maturity in the guy or girl or whoever when they say, oh yeah, I have a kid. I haven't seen him.
But I don't fight for them. Yeah.
But I don't fight for them. I don't really know much about them. They're not really in my life, so don't worry about it.
That's who we were talking about. Yep.
Don't worry about it. That's a huge red flag. Ding.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other red flags?
Or maybe they just happened to forget to tell you they had kids. It's been a couple days.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
And then you happen to find them on Facebook and be like, oh, wow, looks like you have some kids there. Oh yeah, well, you didn't ask. You didn't ask. Okay, next.
Oh, God. That is such a gaslighting thing to say.
Is it?
Gaslighting.
We'll look it up. I'll look it up.
If you come with a real valid concern about something that happened and they go, I never did that, mm-hmm. That's gaslighting. That is somebody intentionally trying to make you feel crazy so they don't have to talk about what they did.
Yep.
We also have somebody that was in office recently who did that on the regular basis, but I won't go into that.
Next.
Next. But that's what gaslighting is. And you don't want to.
Yeah.
If somebody's making you question your own sanity,
that's a form of manipulation.
It's a form of manipulation, and it's got to go. And manipulation isn't good.
Nope. Protect yourself.
If they think tortured love is the only way to show that they love you,
no. I can't even tap into that one.
Okay, next. Where it's like that movie. Oh, so many movies glorify that, but that's all I really had.
Oh, that's it? I know I got more. I guess we'll have it to be continued.
Well, I mean, we covered 33 minutes of this.
I know. Just doesn't feel like enough.
There are so many, and we discover more with each failed relationship.
I'm thinking of celibacy now.
Right.
No, seriously though.
And that was another thing that I was telling a friend of mine recently. I was like, so the more enlightened you get, the more you learn about yourself, the more spiritually based you get, the more you understand everything, meaning, world, spirituality, whatnot, the more you realize there are so many people out there that have no idea.
Yep.
And your selection pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So if you find yourself, and I think there's just a full disclaimer because I've heard about that before, is that when people go through their spiritual awakening or they learn spiritually, they're constantly in seek of a new tribe. And I have to say, you gotta hang on, because I will say that your group gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And we are doing this, so our groups will get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So that's the whole hope behind all this, at least for me.
Oh, I got one. So that sexual relations decide it. So you need to like actually sit down and be like, okay, so if I took sex out of the picture or whatever relationship, is it still a great relationship? Am I okay? Am I happy? Mm-hmm. You know, because remember, you also don't know if like that's going to continue. And I'm not saying there aren't herbs for it, because I make really amazing herbs for that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, like, you don't know. So don't let your sensuality decide it for you, because that should not be a determining factor.
Yeah, because you can have great relations,
intimacy
with somebody and have absolutely nothing in common.
Nothing. Exactly. It's a bad decision maker. Okay.
Totally done that. I was like, yeah, we have not. All right. Sorry, Mom.
My mom would agree, so it's okay.
It's just like, I mean, there's sometimes you go, and it's okay to be like, and now that I know more about you, I realize there's nothing else needs to be said here.
Well, for me, one of my problems was so many would just be like, oh, I'm just like, they're so in love with the idea of being with me, but they actually never really got to know me. And I'm like, it has so often happened. And it was just like, you know, and I'm sure a whole bunch of people experience this in some way, some form or fashion. It's like the trophy wife kind of scenario, right? They love the idea, or they love that, you know, you look like this or whatever it is, or you're that smart, or you've accomplished this. And so they can tell their friends, whatever. Yeah. And at the end, though, do they know you? You know, make sure that they know you. Ask the question, say, hey, what's my favorite this? What's my, you know, and then there's this like shrink test too that you do. I'm sorry to use the word psychologist test to do that. You know, when you're relationship counseling, obviously I've been in relationship counseling and it's like, you know, what is the ways that you like to show that you love someone? Is it gift giving? Is it doing services for someone? Is it, you know, like, yeah, look at those things and also look at theirs and see, you know, is it going to work? Are you both able to, you know, show love properly to help each other?
And I'll also say that Mina and I are not perfect, and I'm pretty certain I've done some of these things on my own. You know, and if you find like, what if I'm a red flag? We're all a red flag on some level. Right. So it's like,
just some of them are too big though. As long as you continue to work on yourself and truly continue to work on yourself, then, you know, look for someone that also is doing that. And truly,
and
I think that's the key word.
Not only am I saying like this is a red flag for you, but it's also for you externally, but it's also a red flag for you as a person. Like, am I doing this? Could this be hindering my dating scene? You know, it's like, am I being that person? It's totally okay if you are.
And you recognize it, and then you change.
Yeah, knowing's half the battle.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe. I just totally quoted G.I. Joe. I'll put that in the comments.
Okay. All right. We love you. And this is to you having healthy relationships.
Yes.
And avoiding red flags. And staying grounded.
Staying grounded. Hold it all together. But keep it all inside. Keep it all inside.